Well, Damian Martin of the Perth Wildcats is clearly one of the best players in the NBL, but he may not be the most famous Damian Martin in Perth. But he's not in it for the fame.
Well, he won the championship last year, and they say it's difficult to, repeat that. But you guys have made some movements in the offseason looking to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think acquiring Matty Knight was big for us. I mean, it hurts to lose guys like Luke Schenscher and Martin Catalini, but to bring in Matty Knight, I think he's going to be one of the premier players in the league. And yeah, it's tough to win the first one, but probably even tougher to repeat.
And, guys that are comfortable with Rob Beveridge, you guys just seem to be, following each other all around the country.
Yeah, I think his dream is to bring all the guys from the under-20s team. I'm not sure if Bogut's willing to take the pay cut, but it wouldn't surprise me if Bevo's already approached him. So, yeah, it's good to be back playing with all these guys we grew up in the junior teams with, and hopefully we can be successful at this national level. It took a while. Guys like Stevie Way, who have never played under Bevo, Kevin Lish, who came straight over from the college system, it took a little bit of time, but now that they're back for their second year, it's just on the court and running, and we're playing the system already, and it feels great to have guys that have had 1 year under their belt with Bevo, and bringing Matty in, who already had 3 or 4 years, he's picked it up straight away. I think Kevin's the best example. I mean, he came in, he actually got dropped to the bench for a while there, but then, towards the end of the finals, he was our best player, and then he got MVP of the final series, and he's really picked off where he left off, and he's going to be our go-to guy this year, he and Matty Knight and Sean Redditch, and yeah, Kev has been great, and he thrives under this system.
It's Damian Martin for 3. Ow! That was a backbreaker.
I hope I can continue to improve. I think just consistency at both ends. I started to score a few points towards the end of the season, but I think for us to be successful, we've got to have 5 guys on the court that are all a threat of scoring, and I'm included in that. So I've just got to make sure if the open shot's there, I knock it down. But otherwise, I mean, our scoring options, I'm not really at the top of the pecking order, but when it's my chance, I need to make sure I make the most of it. Our coaches the last 2 or 3 years, like Sean Dennis in West Sydney, he really got into my ears about, look, you need to work on your 3, you need to work on it. But you're right, it's one thing to make it, it's another to have the confidence. And it started 2 years ago with Sean and actually Jason Smith. It's just carried on, and all of a sudden they started to drop and that confidence started to build. So now that I knew I was capable of making a few shots, I was confident even after I'd missed a few to keep shooting, and hopefully one would drop. You shoot enough, you're bound to make one.
Another turnover. Damian Martin will go up for the... Oh!
And I think you can only go so far being known as a defensive player, and I always dreamed of playing for Australia, and Brett Brown was very clear that if I'm to make the senior team, I have to improve my game offensively, and he told me that 12 months ago, and I have to continue to improve to stay on the team, and that's one thing I'll work on.
When you come up against, say, an Adam Gibson or somebody who's played more minutes than you at the international events, you got a little extra fire in your belly?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you want to go against the best players in your position, and right now Adam's ahead of me, and yeah, it's a motivational thing again. So when we play, I'll try and not be dirty, but hopefully I can get over the top. But yeah, right now he's the premier two-man in the game, so hopefully I can get to that level and get his spot. To get a sniff with the boys at the World Championships is just a huge motivational tool, and the next 2 years that'll be the ultimate goal. But before then, obviously I want to have a good season with the Wildcats and hopefully go back to back.
We are here to discuss the hot topics here on Overtime. And what do you think, gentlemen? Best Australian guard in the competition, Damian Martin or Adam Gibson?
I think Damian Martin's ahead of him right now. I think Adam Gibson started absolutely flying out of the blocks as a young player, and I think he's still very, very good. Hopefully, we'll see more of him in an Australian uniform, Andrew. But Damian Martin, I think, right now is ahead of him. I think Damian Martin's just keeping everything controlled very well over there in Perth at the moment.
Yes, I like Damian Martin a lot. I think it's very unusual to get a player to have such a dramatic improvement in their perimeter shooting. And Damian Martin's done that, where he is very reliable. But, boys, we've got short memories here. CJ Bruton, to me, is still the best point guard in the competition. So these guys are nice and they're coming along, and CJ's a little bit older. But right now, if I'm picking a team where you've got to have a point guard, CJ Bruton's still my first pick.
Jeff, I can't believe you forgot CJ.
Well, that's could hold me in a little bit of trouble perhaps, but I would say this about CJ. If CJ makes himself available for future international competitions for Australia, is he going to be picked ahead of those players? Because in the last World Championships he was unable to play. I think he is definitely better than just about anybody at this point spot, so I'm with you.
Right.
But is he available? That's the issue in terms of representing Australia.
Well, let's compare. Well, CJ, let's just say that was an oversight, and I think that you're right. I think he is the best point guard as far as the Australian point guards in the country. But let's just compare that Adam Gibson and Damian Martin. What I like about Adam Gibson is that he plays with intensity, plays with grunt. He is an international player, doesn't back down from anybody. Damian Martin, same thing, but he's improved his shot. And where I think Adam Gibson's shot has gone a little bit south. I think that's the only difference between those guys. I think that they are attractive for the same reasons. I just love the fight in them.
I think so. If you're talking about, you're splitting hairs a little bit here, but I think Damian Martin's a little bit better of reading the play, the penetrating dish and creating for others. But I mean, they're both very, very good players. But yeah, right at this point in time, if you had to pick between only those two, then you'd lean towards Damian Martin.
Yeah, and what about CJ? Like CJ has moved over to the two guard, but it's definitely not any kind of lack of skills at the point guard position. They just have a wealth of talent at the point there.
And just on that, as we think about the point guard position with the Olympics coming up in a couple of years' time and preparing for that, it is a position where there is opportunity for someone. These guys are great and they're going to be candidates. But stand by, boys, because this weekend, Jason Kadee, I believe, is going to make his debut for the Gold Coast Blaze. Now, Jason Kadee has all the tools that, if he continues to develop, where he would be right there in the mix, and at his age, you'd say that he'd probably have a little bit more upside than the fellas that we're talking about right now.
Wow.
And what about at St Mary's, Dellavedova?
Well, he's more of a two-guard, Matty Dellavedova, and he shoots it well, but...
Can he play? Can he move across and play that one?
He's okay. He'd be all right at it, but I think strictly as a point guard, and particularly when you think of Brett Brown and the way he runs his team right now, he's probably more suited to the two spot than he is the one spot.
Well, just back to Jason Kadee then, because you're very high on Jason.
I'm very high on Jace.
Now, he's got to come into that Blaze lineup and actually basically compete with Adam Gibson now at that spot.
It is, and he's had a horrific injury, a broken pelvis suffered in a car accident. So he's going to take some time, and he is frail. He needs to develop physically. But when you just talk about an instinct for the game, your ability to create your shot, read the play, distribute the ball, all those types of things, he's a young man. He's got a long way to go, but he's got all the signs to suggest that he's going to be a good one. So, and I believe that he's going to make his debut this weekend. So let's hope so, and all the best to Jason Kadee if he does do that.
Definitely good luck to him.